Hey, Tiny T Prepper here, and I'm installing a new gasket for the bottom of the toilet. We had some water that was coming out from underneath the toilet because the wax ring wasn't sealing very well. And I've replaced it a couple times, and because the toilet's on an uneven floor, it tends to rock a little bit. And so I've had some problem there. And I heard about this Perfect Seal product that's supposed to, it has a rubber gasket on there, and it's supposed to, even if you have a rocky toilet, it stays sealed. So I'm going to try and install this, and hopefully this will work a little bit better. And I should know pretty quick, because the other one, within just a day or so, it started leaking again because the toilet rocked a little bit. I put some wedges trying to make sure it was leveled there, and they came out or something. I ain't just sure what, but I don't know if I can fix the rocking on it because of the uneven floor. But if not, hopefully this will take care of the problem if it does rock. Supposedly it does. So anyway, this is called Perfect Seal, and it's by Danco. But just here in preparation, what I've done is I unhooked the water from the toilet that it feeds in. It doesn't shut off completely. It's got a little bit of grip there still. And then I removed the nuts off the bolts that hold the toilet down on both sides. So I took all the water out of the tank to make sure, because I'm going to tip this upside down to take the wax out. And I took the water out of the toilet bowl there. I flushed it a few times, make sure it was clean, and washed that all out. And then took the water out of both those. Took it out with a plastic cup, most of it, and the rest out with a towel to get the rest of it out of there dry. So I will be tipping that up and cleaning off the wax off the bottom of it. So anyway, once I get the toilet out of there, I'll show you what we got. I mentioned this before, but I want to mention it again now they got it in there. If my ring had been below the floor level, not even with it or above, this works just like that. But if it was below floor level, a ½ inch or so, I can put this in here, and that would raise it up enough to still work. So don't need it though, so taking that out. But just want to throw that in there. They do put this adapter in there for that. See here, and I ended up chipping that off. I was able to cut part of it off with a cutoff, not a cutoff saw, but a orbital saw, and I was able to cut around the outside top of that, and then I was able to split it with a chisel here, just a regular wood chisel. I was careful, and I just cut down the side, and I'm gonna prime that real good, and then put a lot of glue on there, and hopefully that'll weld that on there without any trouble, and hopefully no leaks. I may, after putting that on there, I may come in here and see if I need to put something around there, but I think it's going to hold it. I don't think there's going to be any problem with it coming loose. But that was a lot of work there. I thought, for a while there, I thought I was going to have to dig all this around the outside, dig down there and replace that whole fitting that goes back to the wall. That would have been a big job. So hopefully this does it, and getting this new one on there with new metal and stuff, hopefully that'll last for a while. Oh, because next time I take it out of there, I might not be so lucky. Chipping one of these off is not an easy deal. Can be done. What I did was I used that little orbital cut-off tool, and I cut off around this top part, and then this other part I just chipped off with a chisel. And just made sure I was real careful and cleaned off as much of that as I could, and it sits down there pretty good when I put it on there. And I feel like it's grabbing pretty good, so hopefully it's good enough there and don't have any leaks in around it. So anyway, let me get that on there and glued on. The new one set there on the floor, as you can see. They're ready to put the bolts in, and once I get the bolts in, then I'll put the new Perfect Seal on there, and we'll see if we can get this toilet set. So anyway, that's where I'm at now. Got that glued on there. It sticks up a little bit above the old floor, so that's probably part of the problem. On the other one, and trying to get the seal with a little bit not being level. So anyway, we'll see what happens with this new one here. I won't need the extension on this. This one, if I take this out here, see that little blue ring on there? That's if you got it below the floor. You use that then to give it a little bit more height. Since I'm above the floor, I'll take that out, and it's supposed to work up to, I think it's ½ inch or an inch above the floor, so or below the floor maybe. I'm not sure about above the floor, but I'm thinking this will probably work. So that's squashing down in there. So this part I won't need, because I'm already above the floor. So That just goes down there for added height if you need it. And fits in there. If that piece there was below my floor level, but since it's above, I can go with just this. And again, here just has a wax ring on it. I'll be able to set that down over my bolts when I get them set in there, and hopefully I'll be back in business here soon. Okay, you can see I put the bolts in place there, and I had a little type of snap-on gasket type thing that holds that kind of in place while you put in the toilet, because that's the hard part, is trying to line up the toilet holes on that. And it's almost a two-person job, or even three people if you have the room. Don't really have the room here, so I'm just going to try and manhandle it best I can and see if I can't get it on there. And I'm going to put in now the perfect seal, and it's got that goes down, and these set over top of the bolts, just like so. Maybe I should use these round ones. Yeah, I'm going to use the other one. That's the one they showed in the instructions to use. Yeah, just slide right down on top of that. Just like that. Okay, kind of straighten those back up. So, besides having those underneath, that kind of lock those on there, I'm going down, I'll have this perfect seal kind of holding it in place from moving around a little bit more. So set that down in there. There's the bottom of the toilet that sits inside here, and this kind of flexes up and down. The wax, of course, will slide down around and give us a seal down below. And I'll show you the bottom of the toilet, what goes in there. A little dark here in this corner, but maybe you can see it there. There's a little flange right there that sits down the middle of that perfect seal. Cleaned that up as best I could, but as you can see, that wax don't come off very easy. I washed it and scraped it and did the best I could on it. So anyway, I'm going to get the toilet in here, get everything cleaned out. It's real important here. Before I put that toilet in, I'm going to clean up that floor, and that way I don't have to try and reach around the toilet to clean it up. So get that cleaned up and stuff out of the way, and I'll set the toilet on top of those two bolts there. I mentioned this before, but I want to mention it again now they got it in there. If my ring had been below the floor level, not even with it or above, this works just like that. But if it was below floor level, a ½ inch or so, I can put this in here, and that would raise it up enough to still work. So don't need it though, so taking that out. But just want to throw that in there, that you do put this adapter in there for that. Hey, Tiny T here, and just finishing up on the show I did here. I got it on the bolts there. I actually set it on a couple 2x4s here initially until I got the holes lined up over the bolts there. I was doing it by myself. I couldn't see both sides very easily to get them lined up, and I had two of these stacked, one on top of the other, and that way when I got one in, I lifted one end up and took one 2x4 out, and that dropped it down just over the bolts, and took the front one out. I dropped that down, and I took the back one out, and then took the front one out. So I let it down a little bit, about 1.5 inches at a time that way, and that set over the bolts real easily. And I put the nut on there with a washer on first, and then a nut, and tighten that down. And it had a little bit of wobble because the floor isn't level here, so I put some shims on there that I'm going to cut off. I don't think I'll just try and break those. I want them to be kind of flush there, so I'm just going to cut those with I got a cut-off saw, and do that with those, and I think it's a miter saw actually, but anyway, I'll cut those off, and that leveled it off. Got no wiggle now, and flushed it, and don't have any water coming out. So far it looks good, as long as my seal there, where I glued that down, doesn't leak any. I'll be good. If that hole fills up around that from any kind of leak, and I don't think it will. I think it'll probably be, if it had any, it would just be a smidgen of a drip, but I don't think it'll be anything that hurt anything. So anyway, so far it looks good. I'm going to tighten those down over the next couple days in case that wax is holding that up any. I pushed it down as much as I could, but it didn't seem like it pushed down very far, and it kept tightening down with the bolts there a little bit, so I'm going to keep on doing that for a little bit, just check, see if it loosens up from, you know, the tightness of the bolt. Might just keep compressing that wax till it hits something solid back there. But I think the back is on and the front is on, which just leaving it rock back and forth, right and left. So anyway, I'm going to put those shims under there, and put them a little bit better than what I had before. Before I just kind of stuck them under there and broke them, and with that metal already rusting in there, I thought I could get by with it the way it was, but with it still leaking around there with just the wax ring, I think it got enough moisture in there, it rusted that one I had in there off. So I don't know if I'd put that one in new there a couple of years. If I did, it rusted pretty quickly, and I have another metal one here that I put in, and if it doesn't last long enough, then I'll put a hard plastic one in. But I think when I have to do it again, I'll probably have to dig all the way back down there, because I don't know if splitting that off again will be very good to do. But if I have to, we'll dig it all out. That's happened before. I might have to bust out a few tile there and take out all of the floor around there and then replace the fitting clear down the ground, the elbow down there, if I have to cut back to get something good. If I do that, I'll level it with the floor then and get enough that I can do that. But anyway, it looks good for now. It seems to be working good and no leaks. I'm going to flush it here again and make sure I don't see no water coming out there like I did before. So it looks good. So anyway, that is the perfect seal, and it seems to work pretty good. So so far so good. And what I like about it is I put that down on there, and I could wiggle that around and get it to where I wanted to, and it didn't hurt a thing. So with the wax on there, if I'd have had to wiggle that, you know, trying to get it level and pushing that down there, I'd have broke that seal from the thing there, and I'd just had a leak right away again. So this here, I kind of like this. I'll probably put this on any toilets I put on in the future rather than just a wax ring. I'll use this, and man, I like it, because when I take it off there, I ain't going to have that mess. If I have to take it off there and look again, I won't have the mess I had before. So anyway, that's it for now. Tiny T Prepper signing out. You all have a good day.